How is it, I'm often asked as a psychiatrist, that I face pain and insanity every day and not go crazy myself or become indifferent? Let me take you to a peek today in my office, closed ward C. It's 3:30 p.m. and I'm with my yoga mattress already ready for my yoga class. It's been a long week, a long day, and I really want to go. When I hear an all too familiar sound, first screams, then the alarm, all nurses to closed ward C, all nurses to closed ward C. I know what will happen next, and indeed the door is thrust open and a young 20-year-old man or boy runs toward me screaming, "You're the devil, you murdered my parents." In situations like this, I hardly have time to think. I immediately organize myself and give orders, medical orders, to sedate this fearful young man and help him. And that's what I do. Soon after, in my office, I'm again ready to go. My yoga mattress again on my shoulder, and I step outside only to find the parents of this young new patient of mine waiting outside, and they have lots of questions. What will happen to our son? What has happened to him? What did you give him? How long will this last? How long will he be hospitalized? Is this a chronic situation? I want to answer these questions. I want to help them. They need me. But I see the clock above the mother's head, and it already says 4:30. I can still make it to my yoga class. What would you do in this situation? It seems that the answer is quite easy. Well, I went to yoga. I mumbled something about having to run away and explaining everything tomorrow and ran to my yoga class. I made it on time. Half an hour later, while practicing Vrikshasana, here it is, the tree pose. Oh, I can still do it. Half an hour later then, it strikes me. I'm a monster. How could I do this? The parents of this child need me. He's probably going to be diagnosed with schizophrenia. Their life will never be the same. His life will never be the same. Yoga now? Is it really that important? This is what I learned medicine for? All these years? You must think I'm a monster too. But let me fast forward to a different scenario. I'm now sitting in a clinic, in front of me a 40-year-old man who has just lost his 9-year-old daughter to a violent type of brain cancer. He's crying, and I want to cry too. I cannot stop thinking about one of my kids, who is exactly the same age. And I want to tell this man, of course you want to die. What other option is there? But then, a moment before doing so, I think, Oren, that's my name, this is not about you. It's about him. I actually place some sort of barrier between me and the pain and start talking. The next day, this father calls me. He thanks me. Turns out I helped him. Two different stories, right? Very different stories. But are they really that different? In the first, I'm a villain. In the second, a devoted therapist. But these two stories share a theme. And the theme is, when does involvement turn into over-involvement? When is detachment something cruel? And when is it necessary, even vital, for us to survive and be able to help others? It is this lesson learned in the chaotic fields of the soul that I want to share with you today. But in no way is this a lesson of psychiatry. It's a lesson that has to do with all of us. It's relevant to every relationship that has pain inside. Being us as parents, of course, lots of pain there. Being us as children to aging parents, to spouses, to bosses, to employees, everywhere. It is here where boundaries and borders come to our rescue. And they do so in more than one way. Let me show you how. The first way requires us to answer truthfully a difficult question. Who is it that we're actually helping when we're breaking boundaries? Is it the person in front of us, or maybe ourselves? I'm no stranger to breaking boundaries with patients. I remember myself as a young psychiatrist just, learning about the power and the magic of psychotherapy. I have a new patient, he's 21 years old, and he captures my heart. His father died when he was 5. His mother, a doctor like me, works continuously to support the family. And I think immediately that I'm the answer to all of his problems. I can be the father he never had. When he asked for 2 sessions a week, of course I oblige, he needs me. I'm overwhelmed by this amazing feeling that I'm so important in someone else's life. When he's late for meetings, I give him extra time. When he wants my private phone, I give it to him. I'm needed. But then, reality knocks. It usually does in psychotherapies. And in this case, I had to go on a leave, a study leave. My midterm exams were just around the corner. I had a month off, and my boss called me into his office and tells me, Oren, you can't come to the hospital in this month. It's about you passing these exams. You can't come in even for your patient, for Michael, let's call him. I think, okay, it's only a month. I'll prepare Michael for this separation. It's a brief separation, and I try to do so, but of course it's useless because my abandonment echoes so many experiences that he had in his past. Soon after I leave, Michael is hospitalized for suicidal ideation, and the therapy never resumes. Today, I know that I was not helping Michael by breaking boundaries with him. I was helping myself. I was helping my insecurities and my feeling that I want to feel able and competent. Think about it at home. If your child throws a tantrum and you're the only one in the world who can calm them down, isn't it a great feeling? But think again. Is that what you want? That you will be the only one in the world who can calm your children so they cannot calm themselves or anybody other? I think the answer to that is no. So, the first thing borders and boundaries protect us from is from the dangerous notion that we're omnipotent, or putting it in other words, if you feel like a god, then sorry, you're doing something wrong. The second way in which boundaries and borders protect us is by their ability to reassure. Jenny is another patient of mine. I remember her being brought into the closed ward for the first time. She was all over the place, terrible, violent, paranoid state, scratching, yelling, screaming. Soon after her arrival, I went to examine her and was surprised to find her relatively calm. What did you give her? Asked my boss. Nothing yet, he said. He said a phrase I remember. It's the power of the walls. Later on in my career and my life, I learned that many patients like Jenny, whose life and whose world becomes chaotic and terrifying, are reassured by the structure of the closed ward. Not only of the physical structure, but also of the daily routine. It's not just our patients. Think of us during the pandemic. Indeed, external boundaries reflect inner ones and give us a sense of security. Today we live in a world without borders, we love saying, right? The sky's the limit, they tell us. You can do anything you want. It sounds fantastic, but it's actually, for our primitive selves, quite terrifying. 200 years ago, and for thousands of years before that, people knew what will happen to them, from the day they are born till the day they die. Born a farmer, grow old as a farmer, die as a farmer, for most of humanity. What do we know today about what will happen tomorrow? What do we know about what our children will do when they grow up? We don't even know how jobs in life will look like then, A world without limits and borders. It's a fantastic concept, but it's actually quite a challenging and even terrifying reality. I know that boundaries can sometimes seem cruel. When I'm sitting at my psychologist, at my therapist on the couch, and I'm crying, and she tells me, our time is up, I'm quite devastated. When a therapist, somebody tells him about their financial problems, and he still charges the high sum at the end, how is that right? But think and answer. Would you want your therapist to sometimes give you 65 minutes and sometimes 30, 40, 50? How would you feel on the less days? Would you want your therapist to see you every week in a different time slot that's good with your calendar? Would you want them to say to you after a while, well, I don't think we need money anymore. Let's just talk. It's so much fun. Wouldn't that just make therapy another friendship? Would you really want that? I think the answer is no. So why is it that we think that our children want us to break boundaries with them? Why is it that we think that we want to let them sit in front of screens all day, stay up all night, not go to school if they want to, eat sweets? Speaking of sweets, my daughter is a sweet tooth. She loves candy. And we always have the same argument about how many desserts she's allowed, only one. I remember one night I was distracted and tired, and during this argument I just said to her, go on, have as many as you want. She looked up at me terrified and said, Daddy, are you okay? What's wrong? So you see, boundaries and borders protect us. They reassure us, ourselves, our children, our patients, our surroundings. They also remind us that we're not gods. But that is not all. Because the third way in which boundaries and borders help us is by enabling us to love ourselves, our surroundings, our children. Yes, also our children. The Canadian psychologist Jordan Peterson, he's a very controversial figure, but listen to one of his phrases, more known phrases. He says, don't let your children do anything that will make you dislike them. Dislike our own kids? Is that even a possibility? Well, of course it is. And this also comes back to boundaries. If we let our children, run around, be ignorant, rude, and do whatever they want, think that we're at their disposal 24/7, we will end up resenting them. At work, if we let our employees call us at any time with any stupid question, with whatever they want, we will hate our phones, hate our employees, hate our jobs. And in the hospital, where every crisis is always so much bigger than everything that's going on in my life, if I will not know how to set the barrier and say, this is what I can do today, the rest will have to wait for tomorrow, then I will be failing as a caregiver because I will not be able to love my job and my patients who need my love. Back to yoga then. Because you hear yoga, but I hear a vacation, much needed vacation. You hear yoga, but I hear a date for two with a candlelit dinner. You hear yoga, but I hear family time, a few hours a day in which I turn off my phone, in which my employees know they cannot disturb me, in which the demanding world is just shut outside and I have time to be with my kids. By placing this barrier, by this limit, I can actually continue to love my job and do it with a lot of will and happiness as I do. You see, immersing in the endless sea of pain in a relationship is always an option, but ironically, it's the easy option. Setting flexible barriers and boundaries that detach us from the pain and enable us to empathetically touch others is actually the right way to go around. At least that's what I think. So I invite you to do the same. Decide what is essential for you. What are the boundaries important for you at home with your kids, with your spouse, at work, with your boss, with your employees, with your parents, anywhere. Go on and choose your yoga. It will not make you a monster. It will just enable you to love others more easily. Thank you very much.